red, yellow, and blue and black. These are the best way for you to learn how to just basically get to know paint really well. Red, blue, yellow, black, and white. Gesture drawing, so we're literally just letting the pen follow around. We're looking at the negative space around it. Negative space is basically what's in between. So that's negative. If we're about to go like so, that's your negative space. So we're looking at what it's around, and we are going for here. We're not going to worry too much about that. And then it's got its lovely little green guys in the middle here. Okay, it's called a gesture drawing. Gesture on my channel. You're not here for photography. That's done within our 15 minutes. So we've got red. This is cadmium red, lemon yellow, because I don't have any cadmium yellow in my home studio. Ultramarine blue, black, and a really low grade of white. That's why I choose as well that it's not about buying the best tools and the best paints. It's about getting your skills better. So we've got a big chunk of red, and I've got a little bit of yellow into it. Now I'm going to take whatever's on my brush, roll it off, and I'm going to take a little bit of blue, and we're going to mix some blue into that. So we've got this deeper red. We're onto the purple scale. If we're doing the color wheel, that is what we would say. We would mix a darker shade of that again. So we're going to take some more blue, and we're going to go to one side of it, and we're going to pull the paint into it, getting into that real deep browny shade, because once you mix red, yellow, and blue, you have brown. So there we are. Now use that color that's on there, and you're going to take a big bit of red and go back up to the top, and we're going to mix another shade. So everything is just layers when we're making lots of shades. So color on. All right, that's all we're doing is planting color on. Enough water on your brush. This is a canvas board. The shape of your tomato is going to be quicker than our lemon. To literally look around at the shape, planting it down first, and using our gesture drawing as the guide. I'm using straight away. We mixed our red version of that with a little bit of lemon yellow. Then we mix more red into it to make it darker. Then we mix and a little bit of blue. Then we mixed even more blue, and we start to get this brown shade. We scooped the brown shade up, we took it here, and we brought the red back in. And you might go, leave that, clean your brush really well. Clean your brush well. From my last blue, it's just ultramarine blue that I'm using. Blue and a little bit of yellow, and we mix the two together. And that gets a variation on turquoise basically, but it's also, again, going back to your color wheel. Color wheel is equal amounts of blue and yellow, but we're not using equal amounts here because we want this to be for our background. We want it to be more bluey shade. Doesn't need you get it more on the bluey green. Take a big chunk of your white, and then it mixes into just like magic. That's what I tell the kids. I'm like, it is like magic. Straight on there, even less time. We're going for more paint than we are for water, but you need water on your brush to move the paint. And we're looking down at where this meets the tomato, and then we're coming around. I'm going to mix it into. The more energy there is, the more exciting it is to look at, in my opinion. And some white into that blue shade again. I'm going to come back over here. So there's a slightly lighter shade of it. And then over this side, it's darker. So we're going back to where we were, but we're going to take more blue into it. So it's in the darker. You can take a little touch of black. So that just makes it even darker. And then looking down at the side of the tomato here, because this is going to be like a gesture painting. We're not hanging around all day here. We hung around a lot more in the previous one, but it's not all solid color up above here. So you can make little shades of it. So we have this variation, like looking at the sea. The sea is not all one color. Neither is behind this tomato. There we go. I'm going to mix it just even more in there because we want that to be our darkest bit. Great. So I'm letting this blue, whatever's left in my brush, into my white paint. And we want to get this done. So I'm going straight in. And I teach you to paint fast so that you let go of all the overthinking. Black, very little. And then mix that in with that blue color that you were doing. Don't worry too much. You're going to mix into your gray. And this is where we're going to start to plant in what's happening here. So we've got the shadow there, then over here, because this is our quick impression of it, we're going to imply that there's a little bit there. And then you're just letting, that is us planting down that it's there. There we go. Good. Now we're going to take some more black into that same lighter grey. And always go back. You know me, I'm happy to be happy-go-lucky, but when it comes to adding black to paint to anything, you have to be really careful. So underneath, and they're going to fill in where it's really dark. So really dark there, and then over here is really dark. To that really bright red that we had. And the shape of the tomato, that's what we're going to basically follow, but look how we're just changing it into this nice dark shade. I'm just rolling whatever's on my brush off there, and we're going to plant that on too. Over this right hand side is the darkest, so I'm taking a little bit of red, a little bit of blue, a little bit of teeny bit of black. Nobody panic. Sometimes when I put black in paint, people are like, did you actually put black in that? I did. I actually did. And then we're going right in here at the very center. And then we're going to take some yellow and we're going to mix it into whatever's there as well. Well, this is our browny shade here. And it's just changing the variation again. Layers, layers, layers. It's adding a little bit of light underneath. Cadmium yellow would probably be better than the lemon yellow here. But here we're going for down below, adding in that light shade, then up above, and here. Good. Blue and our yellow. So we mix that green. We talked about it earlier with our shades down below. So we're more, that's too yellowy green for me. So I'm going to take a little bit of red into that, which takes the kind of like sharpness away from it, makes it more earthy green. Then I'm cleaning my brush and I'm going to take some of this really dark brown, which is blue, red and yellow. And I'm going to mix it into the green that's there. And then I'm going to go in and around it, and that'll add in a wee bit more of our depth. And then I'm going to take a big bit of yellow into that, tinge off this. Last few shades. I'm going to mix some white into that yellowy, orangey, reddy colour. I think I've got all my red gone now. Nope, there's my red there. There we go. And it's going to be just here. It's looking more like a wee pumpkin at the minute. So we've got a lot of layers because we're not letting them really dry. That's the other thing too. Take a big chunk of white and that's going to go right there because that's where it is there, and then over here. And whenever we're doing it at this speed, you can just see where the light is hitting and around. Good. Clean your brush down here. Let there be a little bit of color on it, and then you can take in here underneath. So you're just implying then there's the white bits underneath. An overall quick impression. So this blue here is to shape it out a wee bit. It's a bit too static there for me. And then I want it to be more round here. Good. And then here, I want it to be more round. Navy with a wee bit of black. And that's going to be over here. Excellent. And there we go. There's that. Now here's become a bit stripy, hasn't it? That red back in here, that deep, deep red here. Here we are. So at the very, very back, that will be dark over there. So you can bring your bluey shades in for that. So there's where it will be dark. There we go. Good. That is our quick, super quick. If you want, you can go straight in with your full-on bright red. Look, there's my full-on bright red. If you feel like you want it to be a little peachier. Here we go. Little quick tomato study. Super quick. I'm going to just tidy up one or two little bits. like over there with the gray here. So I'm gonna gray over here. The other thing I do quite like is implying there's a wee bit of like a shadow. That's the reddy pinky shadow here. So it's black with a little bit of blue, and that's going to be for the very deepest contrast in underneath here. There we go. Bring that line nice and fine underneath. Gorgeous, gorgeous, fun, quick little impression. In fact, just before we go, I'm taking white and I'm going to put it over here. And this is going to be a real contrast for our page. There we go. That feels a little bit more solid. And I bet you nearly cried when you saw me pull that white paint on. But there, doesn't that feel a wee bit more like it goes with what is happening a bit more? And then where else have we bright white? We want to look at that over here. There's a little bit more bright white. When we're doing something at speed, just looking at those block colors is really important. So, well done. See you next time.